Sean Payton roasted Nathaniel Hackett and all of the coaches from the Denver Broncos last year, and I am here for it. I love it because I was, after the first game, after the disaster in Seattle, we have a video on the channel where I said, hey guys, it might be kind of early, but Nathaniel Hackett can't do it. Nathaniel Hackett ain't a head coach. This sounds like an overreaction, but if I was the Denver Broncos GM or owner, I would fire Nathaniel Hackett this morning because of this coaching malpractice. It's that bad of a decision. And then it just got worse and worse. So we are here with Stephen A. Smith and ESPN and listening to what they have to say about Sean Payton's harsh words. Let it play, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not just Russell. It was a poor offensive line. It might have been one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was. Payton continued his assessment on the Broncos organization, saying, quote, "It doesn't happen often where an NFL team or organization gets embarrassed. And that happened here. Part of it was their own fault, relative to spending so much expletive time trying to win the offseason. The PR, the pomp and circumstance, marching people around and all this stuff. We're not doing any of that. The Jets did that this year. You watch Hard Knocks, all of it. I can see it coming."
I think we see this nowadays because of how quickly coordinators become head coaches. Not every coordinator can be a head coach. 100%. So when you see people like Shane Steichen, who has 1-2 years of success in an offense, and all of a sudden they are now tasked with being the head coach of a team. Nathaniel Hackett, same situation. People just assume, like, oh, Nathaniel Hackett was the offensive coordinator in Green Bay. He must be able to call plays. He must know what's going on. Let him be the head coach. But then you do some digging, and it's like, oh, well, maybe Matt LaFleur actually was calling the plays. Maybe he was actually designing the plays. Same with Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael in New Orleans. Pete Carmichael was the offensive coordinator for 17 years with all the Drew Brees teams, and he has never even got an interview for a head coach. I think people know. It just happens. Some people, it works out. Some people, some coordinators, they can make the transition. We've seen a lot of defensive coordinators trying to be head coaches. Doesn't work. There's a lot more that goes into it to being a head coach. A lot of it is stuff like logistics, getting the team ready. How do you handle travel? Where do you go? What do you do? What's training like? What's your design like? What's your game plan like? You know, it's not just X's and O's on the field. It's not just calling plays. It's not just a scheme. There is so much that goes into it. And Hackett, we saw where it was a complete failure. I think they were like 30th or something like that in pre-snap penalties. They couldn't get plays in. They couldn't do the basics. And for a job, and that was right after the sale. Like, think about that. There's only 32 of these jobs in the world. Head coach of an NFL team. Only 32 people in the world is that job. And imagine taking it, and imagine the first day you just completely fail in every single capacity. Like, imagine the feeling that Hackett had to have where he's sitting there and he's going, oh no, I can't do this. This ain't good. This ain't good. I cannot do this. This is going to be a disaster. And it was a disaster. And Sean Payton can do it. Sean Payton is one of the best to ever do it. He is, I said it before, but he is as big or maybe bigger of an upgrade than Jacksonville got, going from Doug Peterson instead of Urban Meyer.
Okay, a lot to unpack on this one. Stephen A., I want to start with the first part, his critique of his own team in Denver's 2020.
Oh, let me say this about the actual comments. I love it because it's Sean Payton telling his players, all that stuff that happened last year, leave that last year. It's him telling the players, don't take any of that negative stuff from last year into this season. It's a new regime. It's a new, coaching style. It's a new design. It's a new philosophy. It's a new locker room. Believe in me. He's putting the blame on Hackett so the players can release all of that, because I'm sure they were embarrassed too. And now it's Payton saying, trust in me. Believe in me. He's trying to build that now with the players. He's trying to build that with the fan base. He's saying, look, we hear you. It was a shit show. It was bad. We hear you. It was awful last year. No doubt about it. But it's going to be fixed. I recognize it. Let's fix it. So I love the move as far as his team, because now his team can get that off of him. They all now agree that, yep, it was a mess. It was a joke. Worst coaching job in history. Agree, shake hands, let's move on. So he's now taken the awful last year, put it in a little box, and put it on the shelf. And now all of his players should be bought into him. I mean, that's all you can ask for.
22 season. Do you think what he's saying is fair?
I think it's
Yes.
very fair. I think it's very fair.
Yeah.
That's number one. First of all, let's understand something. Sean Payton is one of the great coaches in the National Football League.
Yes.
Okay? Let's get that out the way first. He's a Super Bowl champion. In 15 years in New Orleans, he won 63% of his games. 10 times he had winning seasons. One time he had an 8-8 record. Those 3 consecutive years when they went 7-9, remember, that was in the midst of, the whole Bounty Gate and all of that other stuff that had transpired as well. So let's not forget that. But at the end of the day,
that is the one thing it's hard to believe that Sean Payton went 7-9 with Drew Brees. That's wild. When you hear stats like Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, and you look at who he's had at quarterback, and then you see that Payton had 3 7-win seasons with Drew Brees, the second greatest quarterback to ever play the position. That's tough to believe. The defenses were awful, but still.
this man knows what he's doing, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. He knows what it takes to be the leader of an organization, and he knows when he's seeing something. I want to take this into consideration. I've been covering sports for decades. It is a rare moment, and please put RC and Harry up there because I want to see them both. It is a rare moment when you hear a coach say it was one of the worst coaching jobs we've ever seen about his predecessor. You do not hear that.
Yeah,
that
it was
usually
bad.
violates all type of rules. And now you can look at it as being classless. I don't look at it that way.
It is?
I look at it as as an appropriate indictment against.
I don't think it matters. I don't think. And look, Sean Payton's a prickly pear. I don't think Sean Payton cares. Sean Payton will step on Nathaniel Hackett, ground him in the dust if it means, galvanizing his locker room and getting his locker room behind him. He doesn't care about Nathaniel Hackett. He certainly doesn't care about Nathaniel Hackett's feelings. So if it means you got to roast him to get the team ready to roll, it is what it is.
Against one of the most horrendous jobs we have ever seen. Ladies and gentlemen, no disrespect. I'm not saying that. I don't mind saying this because he is employed. He's getting a paycheck. He's not unemployed trying to get a job. So good. His name is Nathaniel Hackett. It was that awful. It was so awful.
Why you gotta say Hackett like
damn
that?
it, I'm saying it. It was so awful. That man is lucky that he got a job right now, okay? And
He got a job because he is boys with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not sure if Hackett's job was worse than Urban Meyer's. I'll say Urban Meyer's was worse. I think Urban Meyer had a worse tenure, but Hackett was bad. I mean, guys, he's a former offensive coordinator who could not get the plays in. The fans at the stadium were chanting the play clock. They were counting down the play clock to try and help him get plays in. I mean, it really was every week. It was so bad.
by the way, he got that job basically upon the reference of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Now, he was in Denver last year. Guess where he's at right now? With the New York Jets as an offensive coordinator. So it's not an accident. You know it's bad, guys. This is my last comment. You know it's bad when not only does Sean Payton say that, but he brings up, look at the Jets now. He knows Nathaniel Hackett's there. He was saying, he's bringing up Hard Knocks and all this other. He knows Nathaniel
Hackett, if you look at when Hackett was calling plays in Green Bay and Denver, it's always been bad. He might be one of those guys where he's a good third, fourth hand, like a good person to have in the war room, but not finalizing anything, but just there kind of throwing ideas out or just kind of managing things. And he might just not be able to do it when it comes down to like the top guy. he needs someone else. He needs a Matt LaFleur or whatever, So we'll see, because he is kind of the top offensive mind. He's going into a position where the head coach isn't an offensive guy. The head coach is a defensive guy. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Jets. It won't be that big of a failure, I think, as Denver, because he at least won't have to worry about, the logistical side of being a head coach, but it could be bad again.
You know what that is? That's a new coach that's ticked off that he has to deal with the stuff that he has to deal with, the residue, the stench of what's left behind. Now, he's going to overcome it, but that's what that's about. And Sean Payton is saying to the world, y'all have no idea what the hell I've had to deal with since taking this job. That's what he's saying. And that I believe that quote is directly directed at Nathaniel Hackett.
Wait.
It is, but I think it's less about what he has to deal with now, and I think the reason behind the quote is more of he's trying to protect his players. He's trying to make his players know this was not y'all's fault, because I'm sure there's a ton of people that were there last year. So if Peyton says, look, the team was bad last year, a lot of his players are going to say, what the hell? A lot of his players are going to say he thinks I'm bad. But if he says it was Nathaniel Hackett's fault, it was the coaching fault, and now they're out of here, it gives the players a clean slate. That's why I think he did it. I don't think it was anything. I think Nathaniel Hackett was the medium. Nathaniel Hackett was the scapegoat, but it was for his players more than anything.
Hold on, Harry, before you jump in here, I didn't think when he was talking about the PR battle and pomp and circumstance in the Jets, I didn't think he was talking about Nathaniel Hackett. I think he was talking about Russell Wilson coming over, and now the Jets parading Aaron Rodgers. I thought he was looking at the two quarterbacks, not
Molly, be clear. He's talking about Russell Wilson, too, because Russell Wilson had lost his damn mind, and now he's reeling him back in. Fair enough. But he brought up the Jets for a reason, because his predecessors at the New York Jets. Oh, he ain't playing. He's telling the world.
I think he brought up the Jets because of Hard Knocks. That's why I think it was. I think anytime you have a team that, I believe he went on to say that he remembers when the Washington Commanders did the same thing, when they brought in a bunch of players and they brought in all this pomp and circumstance, and they won 8 games. So I'm not going to say Stephen A. Smith didn't see the whole quote, but if you see the entire quote, he's talking about more of if you make your offseason all about the pomp and circumstance, it doesn't work out well. Hard Knocks is a great example, but also Denver last year. Denver brings in Russell Wilson, all this ridiculous stuff they were doing in the media, the sell of the team, all of that stuff, and then they get embarrassed. So I think the Hard Knocks is why he pointed out the Jets. I don't think he was carrying it over with Nathaniel Hackett. The Jets have been a media circus with Aaron Rodgers, with Hard Knocks, with Sauce Gardner's quotes, all of that. Garrett Wilson's quotes, all of that stuff. That's what he's talking about. He's telling his team, put your head down, work on football, don't worry about the media, and we'll be fine.
Y'all don't know what the hell I've had to deal with here. That's what he's saying. I don't care what nobody say.
I don't think so.
I would say it's definitely a fair assessment of his team. And I'm emphasizing his team for a reason, right? When you look at the Denver Broncos last year and that offensive line that was atrocious and led the league in sacks that they allowed, but now they brought in a Ben Powers and a Mike McGlinchey to try to, fair that up a little bit. You look at a Russell Wilson, in which when they brought him over, man, they thought it was going to be all good and dandy. It wasn't. It was everything but that. And when you look at the rest of that offense, whether it's from Russell Wilson not living up to the hype or living up to his capabilities, wide receivers dropping footballs, wide receivers showing up their quarterbacks when they don't hit them on certain routes or whatnot. I think it was a complete disaster in Denver a season ago.
A lot of that, to me, though, is coaching. A lot of the receivers showing up their quarterback, Russell kind of doing his own thing, losing the locker room. When a coach loses the locker room, when a coach is not respected by his players, the players will act out independently. The players will click up. There will be certain groups, wide receiver groups may turn on the quarterback. Offensive line may turn on the running backs. Defense may turn on the offense. So you'll see that all the time. If there is not, that is the logistical stuff that I'm talking about with being a head coach. On top of the game plan, on top of the design, on top of the scheme, on top of all of that, you have to be a man manager. You have to manage the personnel. You have to manage the locker room. You have to manage all that stuff. If you're playing the Dolphins and you're flying into Miami and you're there Saturday night, you have to have enough respect in the locker room to keep the players from going out. Same with Vegas and like hockey and I guess in football too, not with the Raiders. That is a big deal. That stuff happens. This is not junior high school. This is not high school football. You've got 55 multi-millionaires at the peak of their careers, at the height of their life, in major cities, traveling, eating, drinking, all that stuff. You have to stay on top of all of that, on top of the actual football side of things. That's what people don't understand. That's why it's not enough to be a good coordinator. You got to prove you can do the other stuff. Nick Saban, great example. Nick Saban, no one is doubting how good he is at X's and O's. And he had a decent tenure in Miami, but he struggled to man manage because he was used to man managing college kids. And he needed college kids to buy into his system. It was difficult for 30-year-old multimillionaires to buy into the Saban system. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into being a head coach. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world. So there's only 30 of them.
But here's the problem I do have. I don't mind Sean Payton talking about his team. Don't bring no other organization into it, though, because you got to worry about the Denver Broncos. And you do have your work cut out. And I understand Nathaniel Hackett is in New York now, but focus on your unit and your guys and what you have to do.
Y'all not going to say it, and I'm going to say it. That's the comments of a very little man. And I'm not talking about little in stature. You Sean Payton. Everything that Stephen A. said about Sean Payton and who he was as the coach of the New Orleans Saints is absolutely true. A magnificent offensive mind, ahead.
I don't get this. I really don't. I like Ryan Clark. Let me say that. Big fan of Ryan Clark. But I don't understand how people can miss the mark like this. To me, it's obvious what Sean Payton's doing. It's not a personal thing. It's not a little man syndrome. It's not an insecure thing. It's not a Payton versus Hackett thing. This is strictly a strategic move to get the locker room going. It's the exact same thing as when people say like us against the world, or we have a chip on our shoulder, or they use newspaper clippings to try and motivate the team. It's just a tactic. It's the same thing as a quarterback coming in, like Aaron Rodgers, him going to the Jets. I'm sure he's telling the people, I'm the man. I'm here now. We finna win. The quarterback play was bad. Guess what? I'm Aaron Rodgers. Believe in me. Trust me. We are going to win. It's not him saying that. It's not him versus Zach Wilson or him versus Joe Flacco or whoever else played quarterback. It's him trying to galvanize that roster. This happens all the time. New regime. Hey, a new regime is in. The coaching staff last year, garbage. Me, I'm the man. Trust in me and we're going to go far. That's what Sean Payton's saying. It's not like he's not picking on Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett just happens to be who it is. If it was somebody else, it'd be somebody else. Payton doesn't care about Nathaniel Hackett. Payton is doing whatever he can to get that team ready to win. Sean Payton cares about winning. So it's like all this stuff about how Sean Payton is seemingly insecure, or Sean Payton's a little man, or this is classless. Like, none of that has anything to do with it. This is just mind games with his own team.
Head coach that won a Super Bowl and had his team competing and actually brought New Orleans back after Katrina.
Yes.
The way that Sean Payton is revered here, he don't have to say things like that. I'm not going to come on TV, right, and sit in this seat and feel like I got to talk about the last man that did this job. I'm not going to come here and critique what somebody else is doing on another network, because I ain't got to do that, because I stand on my own too.
I'd have no problem with that. I'd have absolutely no problem with that. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp had a 7-year run on Undisputed. If they replaced Shannon Sharp with me and I got on there, one of the first things I'd say is, I ain't Shannon Sharp. I'm better than Shannon Sharp. This show's going to change. And I'm here. I'm here. Get ready. This show's going to be better. We're going to be better. Conversation's going to be better. Nothing against Shannon Sharp, but I have no problem with someone coming in, announcing their arrival, saying who they are, believing in that, and then rocking and rolling.
I don't have to set the precedent that everything that's happening here was so bad and so messed up that now I got to fix it. No.
It's also kind of funny how it's like Sean Payton, Sean Payton's this high moral guy. You're talking about a guy who had the Bountygate scandal. He's constantly going after Goodell, constantly going after the NFL. This is Sean Payton. Sean Payton is a fiery. This is also something I don't understand either. Like they have these conversations like this, right? But then they'll talk about how Michael Jordan had the greatest mindset because Michael Jordan was this fierce competitor. He would chew out his teammates. He would chew out whoever. He would talk trash. He would do this. Like, you never hear someone say that that's the signs of a little man or an insecure man. Have you ever heard someone say Kobe Bryant was a little man because he would talk trash or he would do all this stuff or he would, go after his own teammates or he would, Kevin Garnett, people like that? Like, all you hear about is those people are incredible competitors. Those people are, leaders. You never hear. It's weird that this is considered classless or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, go do your job. You got Walmart
This is his
money
job.
now. And now that you got Walmart money, that's your
Literally.
locker room. Go fix that.
He
You
is.
don't need to go talk about what's going on in New York. And I don't think it's about Nathaniel Hackett.
It's
I think
not.
he worried about too dang much. You mentioned earlier in the show he did TV for a little bit, and now he's diving into that. You're not doing TV no more, right? And
This is how Sean Payton's always acted. This is not new Sean Payton. I can promise you that. This is not a TV version of Sean Payton. This is the exact Sean Payton that we got in New Orleans. This prickly pear, quotes, sound bites, going after people, going after whoever. This is him. So this is not a character. This isn't a WWE character.
the way that it should work is Nathaniel Hackett should have a problem with this. And I get it.
Yeah, he
Nathaniel
probably
Hackett
does.
has to be professional, and Nathaniel Hackett has to own the debacle that the Denver Broncos were last year. But I'm just going to be straight up with you. Me and Sean Payton, we got to have a heart-to-heart. We got to have a face-to-face. I got to ask you why my name in your mouth, because it don't need to be. And Sean Payton.
I can promise you this. If Nathaniel Hackett asked Sean Payton, why is my name in your mouth? Sean Payton would say, you were an absolute disaster last year. You terrible job. Like, I don't think he would, I don't know, man. Like, this kind of, it blows my mind. Like, how are we talking about this like these are two people at the schoolyard? Sean Payton is worrying about his quote unquote Walmart money. He is worried about that team. This is his strategy of getting that team going. He is doing all of that stuff. What this brain trust is talking about is what Sean Payton's doing. That Walmart money is why Sean Payton is saying these things. Is why he's going to these lengths to try and erase last season.
Payton has done enough where it doesn't need to be. Sean Payton has done enough where he can behave with class, where he can behave with respect. So I ain't gonna come on here and laugh at a man acting little. That don't make me respect you in the locker room as a veteran. That don't make me want to come to you and feel like I can sit in the office with you and have a conversation like an adult. When you around here she-sheing and hoo-hooing and gossiping and spreading and doing the view talk as a...
Maybe the she-sheing and the hoo-hooing doesn't work for everyone, but that's the strategy. He's taking a chance by she-sheing and hoo-hooing that some people in that locker room are going to come to him. The she-sheing and the hoo-hooing may be his, that's his attempt at getting that team ready. So maybe the she-sheing and the hoo-hooing wouldn't work for Ryan Clark, but Sean Payton, he got paid a lot of Walmart money, and he thinks the best way to do this is to do a little she-sheing and to do a little hoo-hooing.
Head coach? Man, that's lame, bro.
Okay.
That's sad.
Okay. Let me say this to you. First of all, you are right. You're not wrong. Okay. Sean Payton was not right to do it, but he wasn't lying. And so now what we have to ask ourselves is, just like you just said, if I'm Sean Payton, let me take into account what Ryan Clark just said about me if I'm Sean Payton. What I would say to Ryan Clark, privately, of course, if I'm Sean Payton is, I've been coaching in this league for decades. I was a head coach for 15 years. Did you ever hear me do that before? Why would I do it now?
Because he's trying to get the locker room. Exactly. Sean Payton's one of the best head coaches in the last 20 years. For sure. You don't think he knows how to pull these strings? You don't think he knows what he's doing? You think he's saying these things just to say it? Like, that's what I don't understand. They don't think that Sean Payton has an exact strategy for why he's saying this stuff?
There's something to this. Because Sean Payton has never done that before, to my knowledge. And coaches don't usually do that. So what? Listen, when you get a head coaching job,
he's not worried about the money
because the predecessor didn't get the job done. So you don't hear this happening. You don't see this.
I mean, you think Sean Payton's all like? You think this new contract? You think Sean Payton all of a sudden is like just popping off because of the contract? I don't think Sean Payton is worried about the money.
Why all of a sudden with a veteran connected to the tree that Sean Payton is connected to with Parcells and all of these folks? Why would he do that? See, that's where I'm coming from with it.
Ryan.
Because he's never done it before.
Ryan, let me get in here.
What? He's never been entering a new team before. Like Sean Payton, when he went to New Orleans, it's a totally different thing. That's his first coaching job or head coaching job. The team is in total disarray. The city's in disarray. A lot of other stuff's going on. This is the first time Sean Payton has left, went to a new place, and now he has to own that franchise. That's why this is the first time you've heard this.
Here, really quick. Hold on.
I agree. Y'all are right. Y'all are right.
Let me just say one thing. I never think you should be talking about other people. You all know that, etc. But Ryan, you don't think this was a message when he talks about parading people around and the pomp and circumstance and the PR? You don't think this was a shot he was talking to his team, talking to Russell Wilson? I thought it was more about
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, he probably was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think that is 100% what he's talking about, especially when he goes to the New York Jets and speaks about the fanfare that is now surrounding Aaron Rodgers. The fact that Robert Saleh said the man glows in the dark or whatever he said about him. But still, even with all of that, that's actually not your business. Like, it's not. Your business is to focus on your locker room. Your business is to talk about what you need to speak about to make that team better.
Question.
What you need to speak about to make that team better. He feels like this is it. He feels like this is something he needs to address, and by saying this, it'll make the team better. Is he right? I don't know. But I trust that Sean Payton, I trust Sean Payton's judgment. If Sean Payton thinks that's the move, then I have no choice but to 2 minutes and 50 seconds into this video. And Stephen A finally hits the nail on the head that maybe Sean Payton isn't just taking cheap shots at Nathaniel Hackett. Maybe Sean Payton is trying to get through to his team. That maybe he's trying to tell his team something. That maybe it's not about Payton she-sheing and hoo-hooing. Maybe it's not about Payton versus Nathaniel Hackett. Maybe this is a bigger message. Let's see what they say.
Possible.
Well, I would honestly
But that ain't
say,
changing, though.
No, that's not going anywhere.
That certainly is. It certainly is changing. If you have a team that you feel like was worried about stuff outside of the football field, and you come in, you absolutely can change that. Will they still be on social media? Will they still be doing whatever? Sure. But they will refocus those priorities. That certainly can be changed. You don't think Bill Belichick runs a different ship than Urban Meyer ran? You don't think the culture shifts between locker rooms and what the priorities are? That absolutely does shift. 100%. So Sean Payton is instilling a culture. He can't change society, but he can change the priorities that the players that he's over. He can change how they see those priorities.
I would say,
And he can demand that they change those priorities, or they won't be on the Denver Broncos.
Is it possible? That's what he was doing.
no, I think he was taking a shot at everyone he mentioned in that piece right there. That's what I honestly believe.
Okay.
But
Why would he do that?
I don't think he needs to belittle himself or belittle other people. You got enough message you got to clean up in Denver as it is.
Why would he care about Nathaniel Hackett?
What they got going on? I'm focusing on my team and how to get Russell Wilson on the same page with me, because that's
what he's doing.
If Russell Wilson is not on the same page with Sean Payton, I can see Russell Wilson getting benched by Sean Payton this season in 2022.
That's not happening.
I'm not worried about what the Jets doing and this whole nine.
That's not happening. Russell Wilson has got too much money. He would be moved, cut, traded, whatever. He's not going to be benched. What are these guys talking about?
Just not.
So can I totally agree with you, Harry.
If Sean Payton benches Russell Wilson for an extended period of time, like Derek Carr got benched last year for Jared Stidham, I will eat the hat that I'm wearing right here on camera.
So here's the biggest problem. And Harry, you have been in the locker room, and tell me if you agree with this or not.
Okay.
The best message you could send me is the one you send me behind closed doors. It's the message you send me when you stand in front of the room like you get to do every morning at 8 o'clock, and you tell me what needs to be done in here. And then the other message you send to me is when you walk out of that room, nobody else knows.
I guarantee you, Sean Payton has told the Broncos, those guys were clowns. We are going to do things differently now. LOL at those guys. Remember that time Nathaniel Hackett couldn't get the play in? LOL, I'm going to get the plays in. I can guarantee you he has said that. Let me know in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen, what you think. Are these three young men right? Or am I right? It's me versus ESPN yet again. Let me know in the comments below where you fall on this matter. Whose side are you on? Is it mine? And if you're not on my side, why not? Please let me know. I will be replying and reading them all. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.